Whether you're a beginner or expert poi spinner, I can just about guarantee that when time comes to do a performance, you've done at least one of these mistakes. Regardless of what tricks you're performing or the venue that you're performing them in, trust me, you're going to want to know how to avoid these 5 mistakes that hold back poi performances. Drex here from Drex Factor Poi, sharing with you the love of poi spinning and flow arts to benefit your body and brain. And today, I'm going to count down the top 5 mistakes that I see people make when they put together performances so you can avoid them. Before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Flow Fests, Flow Toys, Pyroterra Light Toys, and Ultra Poi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these amazing companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links down in the description of this video. And special thanks to the non-business friend of the channel, Becca Bekkonen. Thank you so very much for supporting my channel, my work, and my mission. Regardless of how long you've been spinning or how many tricks you know, learning how to perform is an entire skill set in and of itself. You can put together the most advanced string of tricks in the world and it'll still make very little impact on your audience if you don't know how. And by the same token, some of the simplest poi tricks can have an enormous impact on the audience if they're presented properly. So how do you maximize your impact regardless of what your skill level is? By avoiding these 5 mistakes that nearly everyone does when they first start performing. Real quickly before we dive in, if you like videos on poi spinning and flow arts, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you know when I drop a new video. And with all that in mind, let's get started. So I doubt it's going to come as a huge shock to anybody that the vast majority of poi spinners out there have a posture more akin to Quasimodo than they do to Michael Jackson. Many of us tend to present ourselves with our neck and shoulders hunched over, our hands drawn in tightly towards ourselves, and a general slouch that seems to suggest, I feel very uncomfortable being up here. Try letting go of some of that tension and stack up the bones in your back, shoulders, and neck, one on top of each other like building blocks. Now, throw your shoulders back and voila, what an improvement. Check the before and after. I mean, be honest, who would you prefer to watch spinning? But changing our posture is just the first step. We also have to talk about how we take up space on the stage. Poi spinners are so legendary at avoiding exploring volume that there's actually a word for it. We call it T-Rex arms. And if you've seen anybody spin poi at all, you have seen them tuck their hands and arms up so close and tight to themselves that a certain tyrant lizard would definitely look on with jealousy. Really stretch out the amount of volume that you're taking up. Not only will this make you more visible on stage, but it'll also give you more performance options to play around with. Don't be afraid to play around with flowers, or the bigger version of windmills called Poitruvian Man. Heck, you can even open up with classic tricks like the 3-beat weave and butterflies to create a new spin on an old classic. Now, I do have to stick a pin in this particular point because the answer is not always go big. And in fact, once you have the option of going big, that also means that you can play around with the dynamics between going big and going small. Play around with when it feels appropriate to eat up all that space versus when it feels right to shrink down to a smaller size. Doing so is going to give your performance dynamics, and that's going to make it more entertaining for your audience to watch. So, now that we've talked about how to eat up all this space around you, it's also time to talk about how we get down. No, literally. Level changes are dancer speak for how high your body happens to be on stage at any given point. You can reach up very high or you can squat down very low, depending upon what the effect you're looking for is. In 90% of poi performances, almost all the action happens between your hip and shoulder level. And again, this is where most of us start off. But imagine how much more entertaining it would be if we were to play around with the difference between going high and going low. Now all of a sudden all these poi moves have a sense of gravity and mass to them, to say nothing of the fact that this gives us another tool to explore dynamics with. And this is also another one of those sections where I have to stick a pin in it, because usually when I tell people to play around with level changes and specifically get down low, well, there's another mistake that they engage in. If you're like most people, when I say get down low, that means to you that you're going to bend at the waist. The problem is, this kind of makes for a really awkward silhouette on stage, and worse, it reduces your mobility. Get comfortable with your pliés by standing against a wall. Make sure that the back of your head, shoulders, buttocks, and heels are all touching the wall. Practice relaxing the muscle on the front side of your shins to let your knees bend. You'll find as you go down that your upper body has as much mobility as it did when you were standing straight up. But in the process, you've taken all that action down to a lower level. This results in a better silhouette on stage, and even better than that, it gives you more options for how to move. Which isn't to say that you should never bend over at the waist, but be very, very careful and very, very choosy about when you do. If this is something you employ, your audiences will see it as a moment of pain or intensity, so deploy it wisely and sparingly. And believe it or not, our discussion about how to use space on stage is not quite at its end, because we still have to talk about... I know, this is sacrilege in many poi circles, and in some performance scenarios it is actually completely impossible, and it is still something that you should endeavor to do. The cliche of poi spinners being riveted to just one spot on stage, not moving their feet, is so ensconced in the popular imagination that it has a name. We call it the tech tree. And to be fair, there are a lot of poi tricks out there that are really difficult to pull off without having your body stable and in one place. But that doesn't mean that that is the only option that you can choose when you're on stage. If you've got the space to explore, then use it. See who's over on stage right, who's over on stage left, and everywhere in between. The more you eat up that space, the more interest you add for your audience. That also means that you're probably going to have to learn a little bit of footwork in order to get from place to place without looking super awkward, but that is a topic for another time. For right now, I hope you will join me in my campaign to cut down the tech trees. Alright, so we have talked about how you hold yourself on stage and a bunch of different ways that you can move around on said stage. So what could possibly be left? Yes, you heard me. Make eye contact with your audience. It is going to make it a more fun experience for them, I swear. As much focus and interest as it takes to do whatever you are with your poi, I guarantee you your audience will appreciate it if you break that focus for just 1 second at least, and look out to them and let them know that you're happy they're there. And yes, I know it's intimidating to look out at a room full of people. My recommendation, pick a spot in the very back of the room and focus on that. Not only will it mean that you're not focusing on any human directly, but also too, it'll mean that you're broadcasting your performance across the entire room. And it should be said, do not stare at the audience the entire time. That comes off as either creepy or confrontational. Pick some important moments to check in with the audience, maybe right after you land a really important trick. Not only does that give you a minute to catch your breath on stage, but also it gives the audience a window to express their appreciation for the performance that they're seeing. What are some of your favorite tips for delivering awesome poi performances? And what did you think of my list? Leave me a comment and let me know. Also be sure to like, share, and subscribe to help other people find this video and to help my channel grow. This video would not be possible without my amazing supporters on Patreon. In particular, I'd love to give a shout out to my Flow patrons who are listed on screen right now. Thank you, you all rock. And if you enjoy these videos that I produce but you're not currently a supporter, there's a quick and easy way to fix that. Head on over to Patreon at patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and sign up. There you can get access to a whole host of awesome resources and rewards, and even better than that, you'll be helping me out in my mission to bring poi spinning and flow arts to the whole wide world. Go check that out, please and thank you. And if you are in fact interested in learning a little bit of footwork to help carry you around to different parts of the stage, I've done several tutorials on the poi dance elements of what I do that I will go ahead and link to as a playlist down in the description as well as up on screen. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to get out and flow yourself today, and I'll see you with a new video real soon. Take care now. Peace.